The pulse. Do 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 da 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 pulse. Do 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 da da da. Townships interviews. Don't forget breaking news. The pulse, the pulse, the pulse. Broadcast just for
I'm William Crooks, and this is the Pulse of the Eastern Townships broadcast, bringing you local stories that matter, from policy debates and municipal decisions to Olympic milestones and new voices in our creative community. On today's episode, first we head to Sherbrooke, where more than 200 people braved sub-zero temperatures to protest the abolition of Quebec's Programme de l'Expérience québécoise, part of a coordinated mobilization across 7 cities. Then we celebrate a historic Olympic moment as Sherbrooke's own Kim Boutin and Félix Roussel help Canada secure silver in short track speed skating at the Milan Cortina Games. After that, we turn to North Hatley, where the sale of key downtown properties marks a potential turning point in the village's long-running redevelopment debate. And finally, Holly Bailey sits down with local author Jaime Moar to discuss her first book, That Does Not Belong to Me, exploring human design and the writing process behind her debut publication. Here are those conversations. I'm William Crooks for the Local Journalism Initiative, and this is CJMQ 88.9 FM. I'm speaking with Melissa Medeiros, founder of Via Expats, about a regional mobilization plan for February 7th in Sherbrooke and the impact of Quebec's decision to abolish the Programme de l'Expérience québécoise. We discuss what the change means for international workers, students, and employers in the Eastern Townships. Explain your background first, Ms. Medeiros, and your organization.
Well, I'm native of the Eastern Townships, and I created a private company in international mobility support about 2 years ago. But I've been basically doing this vocation for close to 7 years now. So I'm directly implicated towards all these workers and international students who chose our region basically for their life project, which is directly linked to either a job or a studying adventure. And these recent events of the abolition of the PEQ, so l'expérience québécoise, the Programme d'Expérience québécoise, is absolutely devastating on so many levels. It's clearly a socio-economic catastrophe that's undergoing now and will only get worse in the next months and years.
Can you give me a few of the direct consequences of the abolishment of the PEQ?
Well, basically on an economic standpoint, basically all of our different sectors in the Eastern Townships, because mainly towards the international workers that have come here, it's in all industries. So it's all private companies, mostly in the manufacturing areas, which are spread across all the territories of the Eastern Townships. There's also the touristic, so every hotel, restaurant that has had, these types of employees in their businesses for years now, and so on and so forth. There is not one sector of our economic layout of the Eastern Townships that's not affected by this right now. And then there's the international students, because we as well as the Eastern Townships are very, very lucky to have so many cégeps and universities, as well as professional training schools as well, des centres de formation professionnelle, who are also very impacted by the international students that they have formed here and can no longer stay.
Tell me about the march you're organizing on February 7th at Marché de la Guerre in Sherbrooke.
Exactly. So that's really led by a group across Quebec, which is called the Québec, c'est nous aussi, and in the Eastern Townships is also co-organized with Solidarité Populaire Esprit. And we're just, regrouping mostly all these humans who are seeing their life projects basically falling in front of their eyes, who don't want to leave, who have learned and appreciated living in our region. So mostly these people will be there to testify on all kinds of situations. And we're also looking forward for the different unions to be present. There's a bunch of associations representing workers. And, of course, political parties of almost all arrays will also be there to support.
What is your ultimate goal here? Is it total reversal, or is there some kind of moderate position?
There's not much of a moderate position. Basically, what's important to also know is that last October, there was a massive, public hearing that was at l'Assemblée nationale for the immigration minister and le MICI as a whole. At that point, the PEQ was not abolished. It had been suspended since June of last year, and it was quite a remarkable gathering. There was 140 memoirs that were, proposed to the government. 80 people showed up, all arrays of society, to say, we got to rethink this positively, and we need to reestablish the PEQ, which is presently suspended. And unfortunately, this was not only not done, it was completely abolished. So this is like a major turn of events that nobody was quite expecting. A reform of the program like it had been done in the previous years might have been a better option. So at this point, I think everybody is basically saying that it is completely unacceptable to abolish it. And no, the new program that keeps on, being mentioned by Mr. Roberge and the MICI of the PEQ, it does not replace the PEQ, and it is not the suitable way to keep all these talents here.
Suppose the abolition of this program stands. Are the results final, or is there something new that can be done?
Well, time in immigration, which has to deal with a lot of paperwork, which in itself is normal, time is extremely precious. And since this PEQ abolition is at the government of Quebec, there's also, the ping pong ball is going back and forth through also the federal government. And together with both these measures that are not moving simultaneously or in cohesion, this is quite drastic because people will just keep leaving, either being forced to leave because they won't have any more, documentation allowing them to study or work here. Or at this point, if this keeps going on, people will just leave because they no longer feel welcome.
That was Melissa Medeiros, founder of Via Expats, speaking with William Crooks on CJMQ 88.9 FM, produced with the support of the Local Journalism Initiative, about the impacts of Quebec's decision to abolish the Programme de l'Expérience québécoise. Medeiros described how the change is affecting international workers, students, and employers across the Eastern Townships, and why organizers say the decision has created uncertainty for people who had planned to build their lives in the region. She also outlined the goals of a regional mobilization taking place on February 7th in Sherbrooke, part of a coordinated series of demonstrations being held simultaneously in several cities across Quebec. Organizers say the gathering is intended to raise awareness of the social and economic consequences of the policy change, particularly for regional communities that rely on international labor and students, and to call for a reversal of the decision. For CJMQ and the Local Journalism Initiative, I'm William Crooks. I'm William Crooks, and this is CJMQ 88.9 FM. This morning, Canada's Olympic short track speed skating team stepped onto the podium in Milan, Cortina, and Sherbrooke was right there with them. Kim Boutin and Félix Roussel helped Canada capture silver in the mixed team relay, delivering the country's first short track medal of the 2026 Winter Games and marking a milestone moment for both athletes and for the city where their skating careers began. For Boutin, it's a powerful addition to a career that's already spanned more than a decade at the sport's highest level. For Roussel, it's the culmination of a full 4-year Olympic cycle and his first Olympic medal. But that medal didn't come out of nowhere. It's the result of years of training, sacrifice, and a deep local skating culture that shaped both athletes long before they ever put on a Team Canada uniform. Canada finished second in the final A of the mixed relay, posting a time of 2 minutes, 39 seconds, and 258 thousandths, just behind host nation Italy, with Belgium taking bronze. China finished fourth. The mixed relay, which combines male and female skaters on the same team, is one of the most demanding events in short track. It requires flawless exchanges, tactical awareness, and the ability to perform under extreme physical strain. For Sherbrooke's skating community, seeing two local athletes share the Olympic podium was a moment of collective pride. The Club de Patinage de Vitesse de Sherbrooke acknowledged the results shortly after the race, highlighting the silver medal as a milestone not just for Boutin and Roussel, but for the coaches, volunteers, and families who supported them from their earliest days on the ice. And for Kim Boutin, that silver medal carries particular weight. Until now, all 4 of her Olympic medals had come in individual events. This one, a relay medal, had been a goal she openly spoke about heading into her final games. Now 31, Kim Boutin is competing in what she has said will be the final Olympic chapter of her career. Born and raised in Sherbrooke, she began short track skating around the age of 5, inspired by her older brother. She credits the city's skating culture, once home to one of Quebec's largest youth clubs, with laying the foundation for her success. Boutin joined Canada's national program at just 17 years old. 13 years later, she's preparing to close out a career that has defined most of her adult life. She's already competed at 2 Olympic Games, Pyeongchang and Beijing, winning 4 individual medals along the way. But heading into Milan Cortina, she made it clear that a team medal was something still missing. "I have 4 Olympic medals and all individuals," she said, "so I don't have any teams. That's really our goal this year, to reach that podium with the girls and the boys. That goal is now reality." Boutin has also spoken openly about the importance of balance and mental health in sustaining a long, elite career. "For me, it was a little bit more for my mental health," she said. "I needed to have something else a little bit outside of skating, seeing my friends a little bit more, my family." After the Olympics, she plans to compete one final time. At the World Championships in Montreal, in front of a home crowd, before stepping away from international competition. "It's going to be my last competition in the world," she said. "My crowd." For Félix Roussel, the Olympic silver medal represents something different, the payoff of a full 4-year cycle at the senior level. Roussel was born in Sherbrooke and lived there until age 16, before moving to Montreal to train at the Canadian Regional Training Centre. Like many young skaters, he started on hockey skates, left the sport briefly, and then returned after watching his younger sister skate. And after being inspired by the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. "This is really the last stretch," Roussel said earlier this season, describing the brutal final phase of Olympic preparation. "It's really a pain-oriented sport as much as it is tactical," he said. "When your legs are burning, the race is basically starting." By January, training sessions are designed to push athletes deep into fatigue, simulating the demands of the 500, 1,000, and 1,500 meter races, while recovery becomes just as important as intensity. "You burn your legs in the 6 laps," he said, "and then in 1 minute you need to recover and go as fast as you can." Roussel enters these games in his 4th season on the national team, carrying experience, resilience, and a deeper understanding of relay racing, where positioning and timing can decide everything. The mixed relay silver medal now stands as the defining moment of that journey, so far. Back in Sherbrooke, the result resonates far beyond the podium. Both Kim Boutin and Félix Roussel first learned to skate here. They trained in the same local system, and now they've shared an Olympic medal on the world's biggest stage. Their success reflects not only individual excellence, but decades of community sport, from coaches and volunteers to local sponsors and families who believed in them long before the Olympics were even a possibility. Short track competition continues in Milan Cortina in the days ahead, with more relay and individual events still to come. But for Sherbrooke, this moment is already historic. 2 skaters, 1 podium, and a silver medal that carries an entire city with it. For CGMQ 88.9 FM, I'm William Crooks. I'm William Crooks, and this is CGMQ 88.9 FM. This report was produced with the support of the Local Journalism Initiative. A major shift is underway in North Hatley's village core. Longtime property owner Richard Laliberté has sold most of his downtown holdings to a new community investment group called V North Hatley. Mayor Marcella Davis-Garrish says the sale marks a turning point and aligns with the master plan adopted last year after extensive public consultation. I spoke with the mayor about what this means for the future of the village. Here's that conversation. All right, Madam Mayor, Let's begin with the seller, Richard Laliberté.
He's the owner that wanted to put in place a project that he presented to the population 2013, 2014. It wasn't socially or acceptable for citizens. So it's he that has now sold all the parcels of land, except for the project that he started doing there, the condo. He kept that.
He sold it to an organization called something like V North Hatley.
Exactly, and that's the name of the sort of company they gave themselves, but it is two citizens, the husband and wife, that have a home in North Hatley, that have created this company, and they've hired an executive director to help them put things in place because they spend some of their time in San Francisco.
But what's the town's perspective on this?
Well, here's the thing. Our biggest thing for the last few years, for me anyway, was to really take the pulse of the citizens of where they wanted to see the municipality. We knew we were at a crossroad. We knew that there was a lot of change coming, and so we decided to sort of pick up on that and use the master plan to really include the citizens. Because I think most municipalities have that challenge. We really wanted the population to feel involved. That's why we pushed for the master plan. And the people that have ended up buying this are citizens of North Hatley that took part in the master plan. So I think they understood the vision and they understand the passion that the citizens of this town have. We all know, myself included as a citizen, that we have to develop. You have to that's life. Things change and you evolve and you move on but for North Hatley, it's anchored in our souls that we do not lose our identity and that we sort of pay respect towards what everybody else that came before it did. So we don't want to lose who we are or our look, but we realize that we have to do something. The whole core was just sort of left abandoned. And not because he didn't want to develop, but because he didn't have the same vision that the citizens did. And that's where the impact was. That and the flood zone and all that other stuff. But the big bulk of it was he wanted a big project. We wanted a project that reflected more of North Hatley.
I assume you can't really speculate, but is there any kind of idea what kind of different direction this new group would take the downtown core, or is that something you can't really...
The whole thing about the vision of the stem from and their interest is the master plan. They really sure that they could help put some of these things in place that came out in the master plan. And I think their vision is not to destroy, but to empower and to dust off the cobwebs and bring us to where we should have been a long time ago. But we just needed people that had a similar vision or love for the existence of what was already here. As far as the town goes, we're just ecstatic that we are now moving forward, and I think we're moving forward with citizens who understand the vision for the town.
That was North Hatley Mayor Marcella Davis-Garish speaking about the recent sale of several key village core properties to V North Hatley Group, a group founded by two local residents and led by Executive Director Dominique Voyer. The mayor says the new owners were directly involved in the master plan process and understand the community's desire to see development move forward without losing the village's historic character. The sale follows years of debate over redevelopment proposals in the downtown core, including differing views on building scale and design. With the master plan adopted in October 2025, the municipality is now preparing to present its more detailed planning document, the Plan Particulier d'Urbanisme, or PPU, later this month. That document will set out specific guidelines for future development, including building size and green space. The story is still developing as the new ownership group outlines its plans for the properties. I'm William Crooks for CJMQ 88.9 FM, and this report was produced with the support of the Local Journalism Initiative.
And welcome everyone to the Township's Daily News Bits. news and events that matter to townshippers. I'm Holly Bailey here on 99.1 with the privilege of bringing our community's voice to you through the local journalism initiative funded by the Government of Canada. This episode is dedicated to a special new book and project that is hot off the press. You might have already got a copy in your hands of That Does Not Belong to Me, written by our very own Jaime Moar, an entrepreneur, yoga teacher, co-owner of The Well and The Marina, and now a published author. We sat down to have a chat to see what's between the pages and the covers of this book and how it might be a useful tool for you. Here we go with Jaime Moar, and That Does Not Belong to Me. Good day, Miss Jaime Moar. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here with you.
So am I. This is such a, I want to say, momentous time. Like, you've got so much blossoming in your life and a brand new book. That Does Not Belong to Me.
Yes.
Can I ask you about that?
Yes.
Like, what was the journey or the process like for you writing a book, or how did it serve you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say that I've been doing the book for about 3 years, and I can't remember. You know when it's something that's like ends up being big in your life, but you don't remember exactly how it started?
Yep.
There's a lot our brain retains, and there's a lot that obviously either gets filtered out or there's just not enough space to carry it all. So I don't remember the exact beginning, but I knew I wanted to start putting down a story. And I wasn't even sure the way that was going to play out. So I started writing it on my own with the concept of that statement, that does not belong to me, because through something called human design, which I can share more about, I started to learn that a lot of the energy we take in isn't ours. It isn't ours. To begin with, it was never ours in the first place, but we might have picked up a lot along the way or day to day. So it was just a really good kind of mantra or statement for me to tell myself regularly, that does not belong to me. That person's anger, that person's frustration, that person's worry is not mine. So it doesn't mean I can't be there for them, be compassionate to them, but I don't need to carry that for them. So that was how that concept started. And then I met with an editor. There's more there's different phases of the book writing process. And it was the editor who guided me in deciding that each chapter would be guided based on an energy center. And so for those who don't know about human design, this is sort of like the chakras. So we have 9 different energy centers in human design, and it's simply the head, the mind, the throat, this sort of thing. And to simplify too, and that's what I love about human design is it's not complicated, is that, let's say, for example, in the head center, we might take in other people's thoughts or beliefs. Right. Or we might be inspired by them. So it's not all bad. Right? We just need to be aware, and then we need to filter.
I love it. And I use this line actually for myself. I'm like, oh, that does not belong to me. You know, I can appreciate it. I can be empathetic, but I don't have to have it embodied like in me. Yeah, because it's a weight.
It is.
It's a weight sometimes. And nice. Some themes that came up, like I've been reading your book. I have to admit, I'm not quite finished, but these things jumped out, like the power of awareness, the power of the pivot. And what I really loved too was patience. And you expressed it as an understated form of self-respect. Can you unpack that?
I love hearing this. I love hearing it from other people because I'm like, right, that was my idea. But sometimes I need these reminders too, you know, like, and when I was writing it, it's coming from a place of like, I've been working on this. I've been doing this work. I've been learning so much, gathering tools, and then I get to put it on paper to share it with others. And it's been confronting in certain ways because do I always walk the talk? No. So that's where it's been really cool to hear something like this, you know, repeated back. So that patience piece, I feel like, is come up again for me. So it's just funny that, you know, we all need these reminders again. And I think it's come in the form a lot in people asking something of me or asking me to do something, to partake in something, whether it's a nice opportunity or a favor. And just knowing you don't need to respond right away is really liberating. You don't need to tell them in that very moment. We assume that people just need that response. Like, we live in a fast-paced world. And I've just learned that that's not true.
And it's managing expectations too, because like my phone will buzz or this or that, and I feel like I need to have an instantaneous response. Or my mom will then call, why aren't you answering your phone? Are you okay? What's going on? And I'm like, actually, I'm taking a walk and I'm not attached to my phone. But it's a new reality that we've kind of accepted as reality, but
yeah,
it's a tool, right? My phone's a tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's another huge work in progress for me, because I am someone who people will say, you're so good at getting back to me so quickly, you know, that response. And what happens often, this has to do with our root center in human design, is that we might feel this pressure from outside of ourselves, which is that request, that text, that call. Okay. And it feels almost better once we relieve ourselves of that pressure. And that usually comes in responding to it. Let's just get it out of the way. I'll let them know that, you know, I'll get back to them right this second. I'll respond to that email, and then I'm done. I don't have to think about it. And that I understand, like that, there's truth to that. But sometimes it's worth making a note to remember to do it later, because that's the other thing. We're all worried we're going to forget things because we have so much in our brain, as to what I was speaking to before. There's strategies, you know, that allow us to then give ourselves that space and coming back to the patience that we can give ourselves, so that we actually respond in a way that is true, right, as opposed to in a way that is rushed.
Right. Like I mentioned to you when I saw you, I got this book and then I was resisting, and I was like, well, why am I resisting? I want to read it. I have the book. Why am I like... And so then checking in. And like you mentioned, it's probably because it's calling on something, or something's ready to shift or change, and change isn't comfortable.
Absolutely. And I've been thinking about how you said that, because I think there's so much value to acknowledging that, and to not forcing ourselves, right? And just even like you come back to that awareness that you mentioned before, and it's to know, okay, there's a blockage here. There's something that feels sticky. I know I'm going to read something or see something that I won't be able to unsee, and then I might have to do something about it. I might have to make that small pivot or bigger shift in my life. And of course, that's your choice. You don't have to do that, but you're someone who's aware, and you might want to do that. And you might not be ready, and that's okay. We all have friends, right, who are going through something, and you're like, oh, they just need to go see a therapist, or, oh, they just need to take this course and that'll help them, or see this healer, or whatever it may be. That's a bit woo, and that'll help them. And we can't force that. They have to be ready. We know that, right? But it's the same for ourselves.
Yeah, it doesn't stick if you're not ready for that. Like, it's, you know, you plant a seed, but you don't go and pull up on the plant and see how the roots are doing. You wait, you know, and everything has its season, which you also bring up in the book, and how life is cyclical, which is so true. And it's repeated in nature everywhere, and it's like, it's a cycle. So sometimes it's time to hibernate and be with something and let it germinate, and sometimes it's time to get the hoe out and start digging, you know, and that's right. Important to respect that.
And especially as women, we are literally cyclical beings, right? And we often think like, oh, we need to keep up with the pace of that person, or just, you know, I always talk of the morning routine that we think we're supposed to have, and that'll give us peace throughout the day. We wake up every day and do that meditation, or have the lemon water, or journal, and those are all great things, and I've attempted them many, many times and come back to them still. Right. And just that liberation of feeling like, if it doesn't stick, I'm not bad. I'm not wrong, because I am a cyclical human. Yeah, exactly. So not being hard on ourselves for those times where we're like, why can't I stay doing this? Why can't I make it happen? It's actually just a phase, and it will come back again if it needs to, or you want it to.
It will. Yeah, it resurfaces. It's like it. Yeah. Yep. It's like, when you don't deal with something, you know you're going to deal with it later. But if you're okay with that and it's not costing you too much, well, then great. I'm putting that on the shelf for just now.
Exactly.
I do that with books as well. You reread it. And I feel this book would be something you could revisit, and you'll get new nuggets. Like you're open, your space is, you've got a bigger space to receive. Or like I wrote down that it was illuminating and accessible and insightful and timely.
I love that. Yeah, I hope so. And I actually had someone come to my yoga class, a woman probably in her 70s, and she's reading it, and she said, chapter 9, I have to read it, put it down, and read it again. And I was so glad she said that, because it's coming up to my book launch this weekend. And so I'll be at Brome Lake Books on Saturday, February 7th from 3 to 5 doing a book signing. Okay. And then Sunday, February 8th, pretty much timed with the start of the Super Bowl, but I'll be there 5 to 7. You choose wisely, friends.
It might not be packed with men.
No, that's okay. We'll have it on in the
awesome.
background, and also you can make it at least for the second half.
Absolutely.
But I was thinking about which part I want to do a small reading, and my favorite chapter was chapter 9 as well, which is about the heart center. Okay. And she said that's the chapter that she needed to revisit. And it's funny because in human design, the heart center is not actually about love, but more so self-worth and willpower. And so the conversation that she said was really hitting for her, and I felt like for me it does over and over again, is that idea that we need to build this trust with ourselves. And to do that, we need to commit to these practices. I'm talking about the morning routine and not sticking to it. So I'm kind of saying the opposite, but it doesn't need to be that. It's more the kindness we can give ourselves. And if we say we're going to give ourselves, that walk is to actually go and do it. That thing that we know will make us feel better. Right. And of course we cancel. Of course we're the first thing to be taken off the calendar. Yep. And each time we do that, we're breaking that self-trust with ourselves. And we don't see it that way. We know, that's kind of a click that I had through the help of human design. And I was like, oh, it was a big aha moment, as we say. And so it's really reminded me how important these moments are, small or big. And of course, things will get shuffled around, so not to beat ourselves up, but the importance of giving ourselves those things we need and not canceling.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and women are a little bit more inclined to be serving everyone else before addressing their own needs. And that's not being selfish. That's, doing self-care.
Exactly. It's literally self-care. Yeah.
Yeah. Not even kinda. It's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And full transparency, I took an alignment course with you years ago, and it kind of was the start of a excavation and a discovery process. And we did human design, and trust came up for me, and it was a revelation. I was so sad to find that out, but I was like, okay, well, that's where I need to build that muscle. I didn't realize that I had lost trust in myself.
Yeah, these things can kind of hit like a little, it's like a little wound, I've had that as well more recently. I mean, this might be going off track a little, but I was living with a cancer diagnosis for the last 3.5 years. And I had a session talking about how when I was little, I was caring for so many others. I have a specific memory where I was there for my mom, caring for her, and how I didn't want to be a burden in people's lives. There was already enough, and I think I'm not alone when I'm telling this story, that especially as maybe young women, we find this muscle of people pleasing that actually gets really strong, really young, and continues to get strengthened as we're reinforced positively for being a good girl who doesn't get in the way, who is not a bother, right? That's positive. And that, when I realized alongside with my cancer diagnosis now as a 41-year-old woman, that I was a bother to people because I was having to tell them sad news, first of all. And then also, obviously, I had appointments and all these things. And I know anyone would look at me and say, oh my gosh, you can't think that way.
But I get it.
But and so that was, it's not quite the same as what you were saying about the trust, but it's this realization where you're like, oh, I need to work on that. So that's coming back to that awareness, which is why that's so the key piece to this puzzle here is being aware of like what is going on. And we don't always need to work on our little child, what do we call our inner child, who is a little child. But when I thought of little me and thinking, oh my gosh, poor her, she didn't want to be a bother. And then it made me sadder for grown-up me for thinking that way too. So it's not a bad thing to have that realization or that sadness for ourselves where it makes us realize like, oh no, I am not a bother. And if I am, that's not mine. It doesn't belong to me actually, right? We've come full circle.
Jaime Moar there, newly published author of That Does Not Belong to Me. We carry on with this conversation as we lead up to the book signing at Brome Lake Books on the 7th from 3 to 5 and a reading at the Lakeview Hotel on the 8th from 5 to 7. Let's keep digging into this with Jaime Moar here on 99.1. In my own words, like when I look at this and human design, it's like you use the word alignment. It's like aligning my internal with my external worlds. And so there's that synchronicity and that balance.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a lifelong process, right? And like, if you notice, it's my friend Ashley who designed the book cover, but it's got the 9 dots on the front of various colors, and those are the 9 energy centers. And then on the back of the book, they're in a straight line.
Yeah, so I did pick that up. I was like, go girl.
And thank you for noticing that. Yeah. And it's not about getting to that point where all the dots are in a straight line. It is in a certain way, of course, but it's never going to remain that way. Right, there's always going to be, exactly. And we're non-linear beings. Ideally, we live non-linearly. So yeah, for us to try to match is like a fun challenge of like, okay, I'm aligned with who I am on the inside. Now, how do I put all the pieces of my puzzle of what I do in my life, let's say? And I always think of like, sounds funny, but like, what's on your calendar? Right? Like, is that aligned? Because when we think about our valuable assets, it's our time and our energy. And that's me having this conversation with you. This was important to me, which is why I said yes. I'm really excited to it, which is why I said yes. And, you know, we're going to have moments where like, we're in a situation where we're going, my gut was like, I don't really want to do this. But here I am, okay, you know, I'm doing it anyway. And of course, there's going to be lots of things in life that we end up doing that way. But we should try more and more to listen to those. And that's what can make us have this alignment with the actual physical pieces of our outer world, let's say.
My friend, like, I think it's so important to have friends of all generations and ages, because the sagesse, like if I could, you know, I wouldn't want to be a 20-year-old self right now. But if I could import all my wisdom and pop it in that, you know, body and have that energy, wow. But there's something beautiful in every stage of life.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he's like, well, he calls me Bobby. He's like, Bobby, he's like, it's simple. Just do more of what you love and less of what you don't love. And I'm like,
well, he wrote the book then. That's basically it.
Like, how simple. And so sometimes I just bring it back to that. More of this and less than that, because life does throw curveballs and you have to deal with things that are unpleasant or this and that. But there's usually a way, or if I could say always without an absolute, there's usually a silver lining, or there's an opportunity or a gift to grow or transform. And like we said before, it's not easy and it's not comfortable. It's disruptive.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it. There's a really interesting Indian mystic called Sadhguru. Have you heard of him? And he has this line, and he says, those who resist change suffer the most. And that clicked for me, because that's what life is. It's change. But I think your book helps people ride the wave, you know, without getting sucked into those deep, you know, swells and get blown over in their little boat.
Yeah,
you know, like,
I hope so. And I think part of the reason I wrote it was so people don't feel alone in this process. And I remember I had a coach once say, like, you need to speak as like the leader, as the person that's knowledgeable about something, so people can learn from you and want to learn from you. And I understand that. And also I have moments where I'm like, I feel like a hypocrite. Like, we all have that, right? We all have those limiting beliefs, and it's something I've been working on, and they resurface, and then I work on them and keep them at bay. I have literally conversations with my inner critic telling her, like, I'm in charge. You don't know the truth. You're making up stories once again. Exactly. Thank you. And yeah, so I feel like that's been a big part of this book too, is like practicing walking the talk of, you know, being vulnerable, of sharing my truth.
Yeah.
And also letting go of the outcome. So I'm so grateful it's been received well. But I had to also, because when you're going through editing something, boy, oh boy, do you get sick of whatever it is you're editing, and you think it's basically the worst thing, and you're
Put the comma wherever the hell you want. You know?
Exactly.
Excuse me for the hell, but you get to that point where, like, just do it. I want it done.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it feels good to, you know, and of course I can look at it and think, oh, okay, there's parts I would do differently, but overall, what I've been feeling is a sense of pride, which is also something that I encourage people when they've put their love and their energy and all of their being into a project, whether it be a piece of art or literally like a project of any sort, is to be so proud of yourself. Like, no matter what comes of it, right? And I invested a lot financially into this because I had an editor and it was a big chunk, and I've told some people how much, And they're, oh my God, have you?
And then get your money back.
Totally. And you know, and how many books do you need to sell? And I was like, oh no, I would not be doing this if that's how I looked at it. That. It's the same as when you take your yoga teacher training. You don't look at how many yoga classes you're going to have to teach to pay back that $3,000 or whatever it may be. So it was really a labor of love. I learned so much about both writing and the process of bringing the book to life. So I'm really excited to eventually do a second book or carry on writing. So yeah.
Okay. That's brilliant. Wow. One other thing that popped in that I really loved is you mentioned like play with it, like soulful experimentation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think, life, especially at the moment we're in, is like really messed up. Like it's really heartbreaking. There's a lot of suffering. It's just sad. Like, and so it's not to discount from that, but it's also to say that I read this book called Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. And it's like it's a fiction about the video game world, but there was something about it. I loved it. Highly recommend it. And it made me see life as a video game. And it made me just kind of be like, you know, you hear stories of things and you're like, this is wild. This is like, and you know, people are going through hard things and also exciting things and funny things, and it's all almost like a bit of, I don't want to lighten it again, but almost like a joke. Like it's because it's so crazy.
It's a big
so
farce
crazy
in a sense.
Exactly. So that's where I think that idea of play, where it's like and obviously there's important things in life that we need to take seriously, and I think there's so much that we spend our time caring about that doesn't actually matter. And I know, like, it took me, you know, getting a cancer diagnosis to shift things into perspective. And I was already trying to figure out, like, what's important and what's not. But it went into high gear, and I hope that other people don't have to have that to realize it. And I know anyone who's experienced any sort of health worry or crisis, it shakes you up. And you think, what really matters to me?
Where are my priorities?
So that's what it becomes. And like fun is a core value of mine. It doesn't necessarily mean it is for everyone, but the idea of play too, especially when it comes to, let's say, human design or any strategy, any tool that you learn, play with it. Like literally try it out as if you're experimenting on life. And like the one I talk about the most is listening to your gut by those sounds that we make, those like, you're served a plate of food and you're like, oh, yeah, that's your gut saying, I don't want that. I don't like that. And another, you smell an aroma and you go, you know, you get a text from someone asking if you want to do something and you go, that's your gut. So that's part of like, play with it. Experiment with it. What if you said no to that thing that made you go, and see what happens? Like, I always think the universe has our back in a lot of ways, and it's going to clear the calendar for you, and it'll bring in things that you actually want and that make you go,
I did play with that. And it's also like just being conscious and aware that I'm choosing a mastery consciousness mindset. I'm not going into victim mode. And it's like, okay, well, I'm saying no to this, but what's around the corner? What did I make space for?
Yeah.
And it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's coming back to trust, right?
Yes.
And it's hard because I always want to acknowledge the fact that, you know, not everyone can say no to certain opportunities.
True.
We have to pay our bills. Like we have, you know, responsibilities in life. If you have children, like, you know, but there's small ways that I think we can start with. There's always little small things that come in where we end up going into a little bit the victim mode because we think, oh, well, my sister-in-law asked me to pick up her kid and now I have to go and do it. And of course you want to help people, but at the demise of what? So that's where it's like, okay, maybe this week you don't. Right. Maybe there's someone else who could pick up the slack.
But I've got an hour.
Yeah. Or you make limits, you know, you set certain other boundaries around it.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, I want to just jump on one sentence I saw as well. I let life be wild and imperfect. And that feels like the play.
Yeah.
It feels like the play.
Yeah.
Because it is wild and imperfect.
It is.
And probably... well, often better than we could have hoped for. You know, like in situations that you try and control and then something magic happens or you met someone neat or who knows. Or you got that magic parking spot.
Yes, exactly. And we need to loosen the grip on the fact that we think it's supposed to go a certain way. Because you might surprise yourself if it goes a different way.
Yeah. So last thought, what's lighting you up today? Like what's got you excited or what's What's thrilling you?
Well, I have to say, having conversations like this are so joyful, and I really appreciate them because I get to share a bit more about the behind the scenes, of this labor of love. And I'm reminded of why I did it too. So it's as much as it's like a concrete, real thing now, I'm like, oh yeah.
Right, because a 3-year process.
You kind of forget, and it goes through so many phases and everything. So that's one thing. And then I have to say too that actually lately I've taken things off of my calendar.
Nice.
Like I used to do coaching or create the programs like the one you were in, and I've taken a break from that. It's not to say it's never coming back. I've just really been coming back to patience, sitting with, okay, what's next? Whether it's more writing, more of these conversations, maybe starting a radio show myself, and possibly something else in the world of coaching. But right now I focus on teaching classes at the Well, running that with Valerie. I'm loving that community there. So I'm just like, what's exciting me is this simplifying actually at the moment of less is more.
The height of design. Thank you so much, Jaime. You are a star and a light in our sky, and thank you for shining so brightly so we can turn up for ourselves.
Oh, thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you. What a gal, what a teacher, and what an insightful book. So if you have not checked it out yet and would like to learn more, head to Brome Lake Books February 7th, that's Saturday from 3 to 5 for the book signing event, where you can also purchase your copy yourself. And as well, you've got the Lakeview Hotel, a reading with Jaime Moar and a chat on Sunday, February 8th from 5 to 7. We look forward to possibly meeting you there, and we wish Jaime so much success with this book and any future initiatives that just seem to turn to gold. Thank you for tuning in to the Township's Daily News Bits through the Local Journalism Initiative, brought to you through funding from the Government of Canada. I'm Holly Bailey, wishing you an awesome day.
That wraps up today's edition of the Pulse of the Eastern Townships broadcast. We covered a province-wide mobilization with local impact in Sherbrooke, celebrated Olympic silver earned by 2 townships athletes on the world stage, examined a significant property sale that could reshape North Hatley's downtown future, and heard from a local author launching her first book and reflecting on the themes behind it. As always, these stories reflect the people, policies, and projects shaping life across the Eastern Townships. You can find full articles, interviews, and updates at pulsetownships.com. If you value independent local journalism, consider subscribing and sharing the show. I'm William Crooks. Thanks for listening, and always remember, keep that finger on the pulse.
Townships interviews. Don't forget breaking news. The Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse. Broadcast just for you. Are you heading out for a cruise? Or lying there for a snooze? The Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse. Broadcast just for you. Hey, I know that guy. I know that gal. Hey, I know that gal too. The Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse. Broadcast just for you. The townships are the muse. Make sure to choose the Pulse, 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 the Pulse. The Pulse of the Eastern Townships broadcast just for you.